Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm Abby Small, and today we're going to do a ranking of Silk in all 5 aspects. So I've finished playing all 5 aspects for those who might not know this yet, and did my deck discussions for each of those. And then I also have done a ranking of top 10 types of cards that would go in a Silk deck. So that video is already out. I'll be sure to actually put that particular video in the description here, and I will also put links to all 5 of the all 5 of the decks that I had played. All right, so let's get started here. So the ranking is going to occur 2 ways. So I'm going to do it by my favorite aspect, going from least to greatest. Ties are allowed. I had established that previously that I preferred it with ties because I felt like I misled people as to the rankings when I didn't allow ties with regard to my favorite aspects. Like when I ranked my 5th one, it made people think, oh, you didn't. It seemed like it made people think, oh, I don't really like that hero in this aspect. No, and so I decided to do it this way and make ties, and it made it more realistic, in my opinion, more truthful to what I really feel. And I'm also going to, this is the new thing I'm adding this time, I'm going to do it as compared to my latest Pub Meeple ranking of the heroes. So I'll be showing you that real soon. So these are the 5 decks. I had Silk's Superpower Shuffle, which is the pool deck, Weaponized Web Warrior for aggression, Wall, W-A-L-L, Web Warriors and Living Legends in protection, Silk Sneaky Spider Shenanigans 2099 in leadership, and Cindy Silk's Sense Surveillance Cindy's Silk Sense Surveillance skills in Justice. All right, let's look at the rankings. So as you can see here, I just put the top 20 here because we're not going to have to go below 20. And you can see that Silk is number 6. So it didn't take long for Silk to rise up the ranks for me personally. And being one of the top 6 out of our, 61 heroes at the time of this recording means she's really highly ranked for me. So let's get started on the rankings. So number 5 is Silk Superpower Shuffle in pool. And just so it doesn't mislead people and think, whoa, he really hated Silk in pool. For me, that even this deck puts us, even this aspect puts us at a rank 10, which is above Magneto. So let me show you where Magneto was again, which is number 10, of course, but just want to let you see it. All right, so as you can see, here's number 10 with Magneto. So Silk slides into this spot here, which of course moves everybody back 1 with regard to this ranking. So still in the top 10, even in my least favorite of these, I enjoyed this deck a lot. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it was I enjoyed about this deck. So what I really like, so this is Silk Superpower Shuffle. So the reason for the title Shuffle in here is we are flipping through this deck quickly. We have lots of card draw. We have Ironheart, Moon Girl, Nick Fury Sr. all giving us card draw. We have Web of Life and Destiny once that's out. We have all of our Web Warriors and Hope Summers being in here also as a Web Warrior, which is going to tie into the other reason for this superpower part of the title. But also Mulligan can sift through the deck cards really fast. And then even Not My Responsibility, if you use it to use this damage on here to defeat one of your Web Warriors, that'll draw you a card, and Get in Front of Me will draw you a card if you defend with an ally, but even another one if you defend with a Web Warrior ally. So, and then Face the Past on top of that. So we have lots of opportunities for card draw. But on top of that, it is geared towards a focus on superpowers. So we have Deft Focus in here to help us play superpower cards. We have, I mentioned Hope Summers. So her ability here lets you, when you play her, you can search your deck for a superpower card and add it to your hand. And that's very important in this deck. This is meant to be a deck that gets your superpower cards out quickly. So at the end of the game, it's meant to help you play your superpower attacks, right? You have superpower thwarts and superpower attacks with Swing and Silk Kick. But in the middle of the game or the beginning of the game, all of this card draw is meant to help you get and Deft Focus out and get some of your organic webbing and what's that other one? Spider reflexes. So a couple of your really key upgrades into play. So I really had a lot of fun with this deck. And like I said, it may be my 5th ranked aspect for Silk, but it's still a top 10 ranking overall. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, number 4 is Weaponized Web Warrior, which is our aggression. So number 4, the aspect for me is aggression, but still ranked very high. As you can see, ranked 8, putting it up about above Spider. So getting up there pretty high to her, as a reminder, I ranked her overall 6th, right? So getting that puts her up there pretty high, but still top 10 even then. And let's go see what I like about aggression. All right, so what made this particular aspect fun is a couple of main things. Of course, you can add Spider-Woman now to your deck, which is really awesome, right? Because she has, she's Web Warrior traded, of course, but she has this response after a Web Warrior, including this ally, enters play, deal 1 damage to an enemy. So being able to consistently do that adds a bit of extra firepower to you. But speaking of firepower, this is that main reason. So we've got the firepower card in this deck. And the whole reason for that is, so firepower is utilized, exhaust up to 3 weapon upgrades you control. And then for each weapon upgrade exhausted this way, choose an enemy and deal 3 damage to it, plus this attack gains range. So what's really cool about this is we already have Spider Claws in the deck as a weapon. But if you add in some other weapons, in this case, I added in Plasma Pistol and Yarnbjorn, which have their own abilities on top of that are utilized, especially Yarnbjorn can really get going. So whenever you attack, you can spend a physical resource and utilize that, which is why we have Quinn Carrier in the deck to be able to make that happen. Build support gets that out, by the way. We also have Lock and Load to help us get these weapons out. So once you get firepower going, or these weapons in here, firepower becomes powerful very quickly, doing 3 damage, 6 damage, or 9 damage, but also you get to pinpoint where you want that damage to go. So you don't have, it gives you even more control, which makes it even more effective. Plus, keeping this first aid in here to keep Spider-Woman out and Spider-Man Peter Parker. But like I said, the real fun with this was the whole thing being done with firepower. So very powerful, just made her be able to do damage regularly so much. Like even the fact that Yarnborn can deal its own damage and Plasma Pistol can deal its own damage just meant that you're doing damage to the villain and the minions constantly. All right, so loved Weaponized Web Warrior, 4th rank aspect for me personally for Silk, but still ranked 8 overall in the Pub Meeple rankings. All right, let's check out the next. And here's what we have that for ranks 2 and 3. So we have both Protection and Justice tied. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of those decks. I just love both of these decks. I really couldn't choose between them. Obviously, you can predict number 1 at this point, but let's go ahead and check out Protection first. So that one's the Wall, WALL, Web Warriors, and Living Legend. Before I do that, I just realized I didn't show you the overall ranking. So this is rank 6, which is Silk's current ranking. So I consider these to be just awesome decks that helped give her that ranking of 6th overall in my Pub Meeple rankings. All right, now let's go take a look at both of these decks. All right, so first the Protection deck. So what I found especially fun about this deck was really being able to include Scarlet Spider and Spider UK. Right, and in particular, utilizing Scarlet Spider to maximize the usage of Spider UK, and also to be able to keep Spider-Man Peter Parker into play. In fact, most of the time it would be used for that, but Scarlet Spider definitely helped keeping Spider UK in play as well. So the other things that facilitated utilizing Spider UK, so if you look at Spider UK real quickly as a reminder, right, 2 attack with a double damage consequence, 1 thwart, 5 health, right? A lot of health there. Web Warrior interrupt. When Spider UK defends against an attack, deal damage to the attacking enemy equal to the number of Web Warrior cards you control. It's an interrupt. So this happens before the enemy attacks. So if you defeat the enemy, which is the whole goal, then that enemy does no damage to Spider UK, and Spider UK has the potential to stay out there indefinitely, getting rid of the minions. Now, there is a bit of a problem with this in a Silk deck, because generally speaking, most of the time, usually you want Silk to be the one who is defeating minions, right? So that you can get them tucked under Silk. However, if you play it right, now sometimes you will actually go ahead and do that, but if you set it up right, you can go ahead, once you get Spider Reflexes out there, and whenever you're on defense, Spider Reflexes will automatically tuck a card under Silk, and you can still get those tucked cards. So, and of course, when you flip down to Alter Ego side, which this deck is also meant to do highly regularly, which is another part of the big fun of this deck, because we have Ready for a Fight in the deck. So we have 3 copies of Ready for a Fight, so we can go down very regularly to Alter Ego side, allowing us to also access Silk's ability on her Alter Ego side to draw a couple of cards in combination with Albert Moon's ability that lets her tuck another card. So because you can go to Alter Ego so often, because of having Ready for a Fight in this deck, it really makes it so that Silk still is able to get those tucked cards, and you can utilize Spider UK to the best of his ability, right? But also to help Spider UK function, we also have Hanger Bay in this deck, right? So after an ally defends against an attack and is not defeated, exhaust this card and ready that ally. So Spider UK, because he has an interrupt, he defeats the minion. He doesn't get defeated, so he gets to ready at least the one time here once Hanger Bay is out in play. By the way, Angel's Eerie, great card in this deck too, because with Silk defending against the villain frequently, this will allow Silk to heal when she gets over to that side. So in any case, a lot of fun here just taking care of those minions. And then at the end of the game, Spider UK actually ends up being almost always a key factor in defeating the villain, because when you're going for those big final attacks, you let Spider UK help set that up, maybe getting defeated and drawing you a card, but allowing you to go ahead and deal some damage, significant damage, usually 4 or 5 points of damage before that final turn that you take. Or you just took basically a final turn and you didn't quite finish off the villain. Villain has 3 or 4 points left, maybe 5 hit points left. You defend with Spider UK, and the villain didn't even get a chance to attack. The villain starts to attack, you interrupt it and finish them off. So just a ton of fun with this deck. Highly recommend giving this one a try. All right, let's look at the Justice deck and why I felt like that one tied the fun of this deck for me, made it one of my favorites. All right, so the way I would describe this Justice deck, so Cindy's Silk Sense Surveillance skills, is this deck is like invincibility. Like, it doesn't take, because there's a lot of card draw in this deck, just like the other decks, and combined with, you get that card draw from additional cards like Clear to the Area, a couple of One Way or Anothers. We also have, Skilled Investigator. All of those cards can additionally draw you cards. So you have the ability to set things up quickly. And once you start setting things up, you cannot be defeated, or at least, against most villains, you're not going to be defeated once you get things set up, because you can get under surveillance out there. So you increase, the threat value of the main scheme by up to 4, counterintelligence to help out with that as well, right? So you can prevent 3 of that threat when any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme. And because you have, a copy of this and it can be basically defeated, then you can get it back out here and play again. A lot of times I would get that out a couple of times. So all of that, and then on top of that, being able to play Heroic Intuition and give her an additional thwart, so she ends up with 3 thwart, and she has her readying with Organic Webbing, so she can do up to 6 thwart very easily in this deck. That also made it just a powerful deck. Like, really, once it was set up, there was just no way for the villain to beat it. So even against Magneto in the, in his, even if he happened to be in his third made scheme, you just knew you were safe, and he was not going to beat you, even with, some of those runs that he can get that can make things very difficult. All right, so that's the reason for the 2-way tie for places 2nd and 3rd. So let's get to that final deck. All right, so we have Silk's Sneaky Spider Shenanigans 2099. I think even from the title, it might give away that this is going to be a fun deck because of all the shenanigans going on. So this is number 1. And in leadership, I would say that she is ranked 3, so even above Wasp. So let me show the list again, since this is a ranking that's higher than before, higher than her natural ranking of 6th that I had. All right, and so as you can see right here, 6th, and I said number 3, which would put up above Wasp. That's also above, well, frankly, it's above Cable. Spider-Man Peter Parker moves up with her, by the way, in a way. So, hard to say which of those kind of win for 3, but at least right now, I'll take Silk at 3rd place. So very high. Let's go take a look at the deck that is an example of why I had just the most fun ever with this particular aspect of leadership. All right, so in this leadership deck, what really made this fun, of course, those of you who've played Spider-Man 2099 know that this is the key card that makes these decks really have all these incredible things that they can do, because even though Spider-Man 2099 is a 4-cost ally, getting him out in play is definitely worth it. And it has this response after Spider-Man 29 and uses a basic power, return a Web Warrior ally in play to its owner's hand. And so you end up putting these Web Warrior cards back in your hand. Notice I don't even have a Nick Fury, who tends to be a staple in a lot of my decks. And I love adding to the card draw with him. So I didn't even include him in here. Web of Life and Destiny gets triggered all the time by putting cards back in your hand. And then what added to the fun is I had never utilized Sneak Attack in any decks prior to this. So it's a 1-cost event. Choose an ally in your hand that shares a trait with your identity, put that ally into play, and then if that ally is still in play at the end of the phase, you can discard it. What is really cool about that is you get one of these cards out, like let's say Hobie Brown, or you get out, let's say Ghost Spider, another great example. But let's take Hobie Brown. You get Sneak Attack to play it out, and then at the end of the phase, Hobie Brown ends up being discarded and his ability triggers and you do a bunch of damage to the villain, but also it happens at the end of the round, right? So Sneak Attack occurs at the end of the round, at the end of the phase, excuse me. And so because it's at the end of the phase, you've already drawn up your cards and you draw another card at the end of that. So that works so beautifully in a Web Warrior deck. And then another one great for that is Ghost Spider, who can help get you, there are lots of great cards that it can get you, but especially Swinging Silk Kick at the end of the game, be able to get you one of those to be able to start you off well in your next round, right? And that'll trigger if you're in the hero side, right? So it's if that ally is still in play at the end of the phase. No, it looks like that. No, it was just had to be the trait to get it into play. Okay, I hadn't played this deck in a little while. But yeah, so that means you should be able to do it on your alter ego side too, because this response occurs even in alter ego side. So you can go ahead and draw a card, which can set you up for even those, that's right, set you up even those bigger plays, because then you have Silk's own ability in the alter ego side to draw you a couple more cards, and you can really start playing, 2 or 3 of those Swinging Silk Kicks, right? And then in addition to that, we had Suit Ups that can really help you set things up. A couple of Clarity of Purposes, one of which you can put into play to help you play cards, but the other of which you can just always discard so that you have it available all the time in order to be able to utilize Suit Up, right? So my favorite here, usual call for backup in here to get any card you want out into play. And I highly recommend trying this out. Any of the decks I think were a ton of fun, right? Top 10 heroes based on any of the aspects. So whichever ones you might find the most interesting, you might want to give a try. Like I said, I'll link all of these decks in the description, but maybe you don't want to give them a try, but they give you ideas for your own deck builds. In any case, those are the rankings. Let me show the final rankings again one last time. All right, and there we have them. Numbers 1, tied for 2 and 3 here. Number 4 in aggression, number 5 in pool, right? The tie was protection and justice. The leader was leadership. All right, have a great one, everybody. Hey, please like and subscribe if you find this content interesting. And I love having discussions with people in the comment section. So in any case, once again, have a great one, everybody.